Good afternoon and bon après-midi à tous.
Bon après-midi.
As usual, I will start with a brief update
je
on the numbers,
commencerai
then say a few
par
words
une brève
on the
mise à jour sur la
COVID-19
situation actuelle,
situation
puis je formulerai
and how
quelques remarques sur la
Canadians can
COVID-19 et
prepare
sur la
to keep
manière
the
dont les
curve down
Canadiens peuvent
over
se
the long
préparer à
weekend.
maintenir la courbe à un bas niveau tout au long de
There
la fin
have
de
been
semaine. On a signalé
115,799
115
cases of
799
COVID-19
cas
in
de
Canada,
COVID-19 au Canada.
including
Parmi ces cas, on
8,929
recense
deaths.
8 929 décès.
87% of people have now
Des
recovered.
personnes infectées,
And labs across Canada
87%
have
disent maintenant
tested
sont maintenant établis.
3
À ce jour, les laboratoires de partout au pays ont analysé les tests de
625
dépistage
people
de 3
for
996
COVID-19
625
Over the
personnes.
past week, an
Au cours de la
average
dernière
of
semaine, en moyenne, 40 665 personnes ont passé un test de dépistage chaque jour, dont un peu plus de 1% ont reçu un résultat positif. Enfin, on compte en moyenne 461 nouveaux cas signalés quotidiennement pour l'ensemble du pays. À l'approche de cette longue fin de semaine, nous devons garder à l'esprit que le virus responsable de la COVID-19 est omniprésent. Lorsque nous planifions des activités, nous devons être conscients des conséquences involontaires. Le virus ne disparaît pas avec l'été. Il est là, à attendre simplement une invitation à une fête ou un rassemblement. Le virus est la conséquence fortuite inattendue. Il détruit votre rassemblement bien intentionné dans votre cour et peut nuire à la santé de votre famille et même de la collectivité. Donc, cette fin de semaine, prévoyez de petits rassemblements, ne baissez pas votre garde, évitez les activités à haut risque et prenez des précautions pour éviter que le virus ne se propage.
Vivre avec la COVID-19 s'est révélé très difficile à bien des égards. Toutefois, quand la vie nous réserve de mauvaises surprises, il n'en tient qu'à nous de les tourner à notre avantage en décidant de nourrir et de renforcer les aspects positifs de la pandémie. Garder un cercle social restreint nous donne l'occasion d'enrichir les liens au sein de notre bulle sociale. Pendant la COVID-19, il s'agit de nos proches. Cette période et les souvenirs que nous en tirons resteront gravés dans nos mémoires toute notre vie. Living with COVID-19 has been very difficult in so many ways, but we can take these lemons and make lemonade by deciding to nurture and amplify the good that has come with the bad. Keeping our social circles small gives us the opportunity to deepen and enrich connections within our social bubble. During COVID-19, these are our peeps. Cherish them. For these days and the memories we make will be remembered for a lifetime. At the same time, networking virtually during COVID-19 has given us an opportunity to expand our social circles as we take advantage of virtual book clubs and trivia nights. And these days, we are finding safer ways to go out and enjoy what summer has to offer. These are hard times, but they are our times, and we will get through this together. Over the weekend, I will continue to release daily statements to keep Canadians updated with the latest numbers and to provide links to information and resources about COVID-19 exposure risks and the precautions that we can all take to prevent exposure and spreading the virus. Don't lose hope. Stay the course and keep being part of the solution. Thank you.
Thank you, Dr. Tam. I'll go next. Good morning, everyone. My name is Carla Qualtrough. I'm the Minister of Employment, Workforce Development, and Disability Inclusion. I'm with you today to talk about two very important things: what people can expect in the fall as it relates to the Canada Emergency Response Benefit, NEI, and additional supports for temporary foreign workers and their employers. We've recently seen an economic restart in some sectors, but we know that there's still a long way to go. Many Canadian workers continue to face challenges during this time, and as the Prime Minister said this morning, we will continue to be there for them. In September, we will be moving as many Canadians as possible from the CERB onto employment insurance. Our EI system is ready, and there'll be no disruption of benefits. Pour ceux qui n'y auront toujours pas accès, comme les travailleurs à contrat, on va créer une prestation de transition similaire à l'assurance emploi. Pour les travailleurs qui sont malades avec le COVID-19 ou qui ont des responsabilités de proche aidant, il y aura des prestations pour vous aussi. Et il n'y aura pas d'augmentation des cotisations à l'assurance emploi en ces temps difficiles. We'll have more details to share about how people will be able to access these new supports in the coming weeks. Rest assured, we will continue to work tirelessly as we support Canadians in the transition back to work. I look forward to sharing more on this in the near future. I'd now like to talk about the additional supports for temporary foreign workers and their employers. Since the beginning of the pandemic, our government has been focused on keeping Canadians safe and getting them the help they need to get through this crisis. We've also undertaken significant actions to support Canada's continued food security while safeguarding the health and safety of Canadian and temporary foreign workers. Despite these efforts, as well as those undertaken by employers and workers participating in the Temporary Foreign Worker Program, there have been COVID-19 outbreaks on some Canadian farms. I'm truly saddened to hear about these workers who have become ill or passed away due to COVID-19. My thoughts continue to be with them and their families. While most employers in the Temporary Foreign Worker Program follow the rules and have taken important steps to help mitigate the risks of COVID-19 in their workplaces, there are reported cases of inappropriate behavior and unsafe working conditions. We take this very seriously and have been looking at additional steps we could take in order to better protect temporary foreign workers in Canada. Today, we are announcing additional action to protect workers and reduce the incidence and impact of COVID-19 outbreaks on farms with an investment of approximately $58 million. With this funding, we are increasing outreach to temporary foreign workers and strengthening our inspection regimes. This is about workers' rights and employers' obligations. We are also providing further assistance to employers in the case of an outbreak and increasing funding to help farmers put in place proactive health and safety measures. In addition, we are developing a coordinated national approach to employer-provided accommodations for temporary foreign workers. This includes working with provinces and territories, employers, workers, and foreign partner countries on national guidelines for on-site accommodations. It also includes developing mandatory requirements for employer-provided accommodation as a condition of the Temporary Foreign Worker Program. Nous savons qu'il y a des questions importantes qui doivent être abordées dans le cadre du programme de travailleurs étrangers temporaires et nous prenons des actions concrètes. Les droits des travailleurs sont au cours des investissements que nous annonçons aujourd'hui et continueront de l'être à l'avenir. Merci. Thank you. I'll now pass it over to my colleague, la ministre Marie-Claude Bibeau.
Minister Marie-Claude Bibeau.
Merci, Carla. Bonjour à tous, je suis Marie-Claude Bibeau, ministre de l'Agriculture et de l'Agroalimentaire, et je suis heureuse de me joindre à ma collègue, la ministre Qualtrough, pour vous annoncer les nouvelles mesures relatives aux travailleurs étrangers temporaires dans le secteur de l'agriculture. Si les Canadiens et les Canadiennes ont le privilège d'avoir accès à de bons aliments même en temps de pandémie, c'est entre autres grâce au travail acharné de nos producteurs et de nos productrices agricoles, de leurs employés, dont les travailleurs étrangers temporaires. Nous avons à cœur d'assurer le bien-être de ces travailleurs essentiels et nous voulons faire plus pour les protéger. Si la vaste majorité des producteurs ont à cœur le bien-être de leurs employés, il est impératif que tous et chacun des travailleurs étrangers se trouvent dans un environnement de travail et un milieu de vie qui assure leur sécurité et leur dignité humaine. C'est pourquoi aujourd'hui, nous annonçons plus de 58 millions de dollars pour éviter, sinon réduire, les conséquences des épidémies de COVID-19 dans nos entreprises agricoles. D'une part, nous allons investir 7,4 millions de dollars auprès des organisations qui viennent en aide aux travailleurs étrangers afin qu'ils soient mieux informés et accompagnés, afin que, dans leur langue, quant à leurs responsabilités et à leurs droits et aux services qui leur sont offerts, notamment en ce qui concerne leur santé. An investment of $7.4 million is being earmarked for migrant worker support organizations to increase outreach and improve workers' understanding on how to protect themselves from COVID-19, their rights in the workplace, services available to them, as well as information on how to access health, income, and emergency supports when needed. Through a $16.2 million investment, the Government of Canada is immediately expanding the scope and the number of inspections, with a focus on employers who hire workers who are at higher risk or vulnerable to COVID-19. 16,2 millions de dollars serviront à augmenter la portée et le nombre d'inspections qui seront faites dans les entreprises agricoles les plus à risque. Et finalement, une enveloppe de 35 millions de dollars nous permettra de partager avec les producteurs certains coûts associés à l'amélioration des lieux de travail et des milieux de vie des travailleurs agricoles étrangers. Ces fonds pourront, entre autres, servir à l'achat d'équipements de protection individuelle, au réaménagement des lieux de travail et des habitations, ainsi qu'à absorber une partie des coûts exceptionnels associés à une éclosion de COVID-19, comme un logement temporaire. Au cours des prochains mois, nous travaillerons aussi en collaboration avec les représentants de l'industrie, les provinces, les territoires et nos partenaires étrangers afin de développer de nouvelles normes nationales de logement qui assureront la sécurité et la dignité des travailleurs. Today's announcement comprises $35 million to share with producers the cost of additional on-farm measures, including living quarters, that will improve the health and safety of all workers and limit the spread of COVID-19. Step by step, the government is giving our farmers, food processors, and workers the support they need to continue their vital work. Thank you to everyone working hard to supply Canadians with high-quality Canadian food. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Ministers. Merci beaucoup. We will now turn it over to question. On va passer par la période de questions. We will start by the phone. Commencer par le téléphone. 3 questions with 1 follow-up. 3 questions suivies par une question de suivi. Operator, please, can you queue up our first question?
Thank you. Merci. Please press star 1 at this time if you have a question. S'il vous plaît, appuyez sur étoile 1 maintenant pour poser une question. And the first question, la première question est de Theresa Wright from the Canadian Press. Please go ahead. La parole est à vous.
Hi. My first question is for Minister Qualtrough about the moving people from the CERB onto EI. Can you explain how the EI system is going to handle this influx of people? Federal officials didn't believe that it could handle it when we started seeing the unemployment levels going up in March and April. Now, what's changed, especially given that we're talking about millions of EI-eligible people on the CERB, plus the possibility of further job losses if companies don't survive?
Well, thank you for the really important question. Absolutely, mid-March, the EI system was not in a place, was not able to take in the number of EI applications that were being, tossed its way. And we've worked, officials have worked tirelessly over the past 5 months to remedy that. So we are very confident now that the system is ready. We can take in those high volumes of people without a disruption in benefits. We've been able to automate a lot of processes. We've simplified and streamlined some of the intake procedures. We have done some of the work already for a lot of people because we have records of employment for a number of people who say would have been EI eligible. I could list so many of the things that have been done, but at the end of the day, it's been tested and tried and tested, and I can assure Canadians that it's ready to take in probably around 4 million applications at the beginning of September. Thank you.
Thank you. My other question is for Minister Bibeau on the money for migrant workers. Can you just clarify, first of all, if this means that inspectors will actually be going in person to perform inspections because we've learned that they were doing remote visits through the pandemic? And also, how do you counter the perception that government has been slow and ineffective at ensuring that the safety and security of these workers during COVID-19 because of the economic needs of farmers?
Minister Bibeau, you're on mute.
Okay. Do you hear me now? I'm sorry.
Yes, we do.
Okay. So we have been working closely with the provinces and the local health services to try to protect our workers, and this is because actually Minister Qualtrough might want to add, since it falls under her responsibility. But I know that most of the farmers have been taking their responsibility. They care for their employers, and they have put in place all the necessary measures to protect their employers, starting with the 14-day isolation period, and then putting in place, additional measures to protect them while they started working.
Thank you. And perhaps I'll add, the inspections are in person already. We're doing more of them. We're broadening the scope of what they're focusing on during these inspections. Of course, when workers first began to arrive, the focus of inspections was on the quarantine measures. We now have workers here. They've gone through quarantine, and in fact, they're getting sick. So, of course, our inspections are broader, and we've got a more scope, and we're doing more of them. So, increased number, increased scope, and a more immediate reaction to circumstances as they arrive. This is in addition to the assessments that are being done by Public Health Agency with the SDC in the province and local health authorities when an outbreak happens on a particular farm.
Thank you very much. Operator, next question.
Thank you. The next question, la prochaine question est de Catherine Lévesque de la Presse canadienne. Please go ahead. La parole est à vous.
The Canadian Press.
Oui, bonjour à vous trois. Je voulais savoir, avez-vous les données combien de travailleurs agricoles étrangers sont décédés jusqu'à maintenant? Si vous n'avez pas ces données, pourquoi?
De mémoire, j'ai été informée de 3 cas, mais c'est certainement une information qui est partagée de différentes façons avec nos différents services et avec nos relations continues aussi avec les consulats et les ambassades.
Information sharing with the consulates and embassies.
OK, donc 3 cas dans tout le pays. Je comprends bien. Et en fait, ma question, ça ressemble à celle de ma collègue là, auparavant. Pourquoi avoir attendu jusqu'au 31 juillet pour déployer pour octroyer ces nouveaux fonds pour aider les fermes, alors qu'elles demandent depuis des mois de les aider, elles demandent des normes nationales en fait pour accueillir ces travailleurs étrangers. Alors pourquoi avoir attendu jusqu'au 31 juillet?
Ce programme-là est d'une très, très grande complexité. On travaille en collaboration, évidemment, au niveau fédéral avec notre collègue, le ministre de l'Immigration, la ministre Qualtrough et moi-même, pour essayer d'attacher tous les morceaux, de voir de quelle façon est-ce qu'on peut le mieux possible aider les partenaires, autant les entreprises agricoles que aussi les organisations qui sont déjà dans nos communautés en train d'aider à la coordination de l'accueil des travailleurs étrangers. Dans quelle mesure est-ce qu'on peut les aider à assumer plus de responsabilités? Et c'est d'ailleurs dans cette optique-là que c'est non seulement de l'aide directement aux producteurs agricoles qu'on annonce aujourd'hui, mais c'est de l'aide aussi à ces organisations-là intermédiaires. Donc, 7,4 millions de dollars qui va nous aider là, à améliorer les infrastructures, mais aussi à offrir un meilleur accompagnement aux travailleurs dans leur langue aussi.
The migrant workers in their own language.
Merci beaucoup. Prochaine question, next question on the line.
Thank you. The next question, la prochaine question est de Kelsey Johnson from Reuters. Please go ahead. La parole est à vous.
Thank you, ministers, for taking my question. My first question is for Minister Qualtrough. Mr. Qualtrough, would you, in terms of the gig and contract workers who do not qualify for EI right now, the Prime Minister mentioned a parallel program that's going to be created. How are you going to get that program in place by the end of August, and wouldn't you need parliamentary changes to do that?
Well, thanks for the question. So we'll be announcing more specific details in the weeks to come. But overall, as a framework, just like CERB, we know that there are people who will be able to transition easily back into EI, but others won't. So we will have a parallel benefit equal to EI, where people who we can't yet, and I emphasize yet, get into the EI system, they'll be able to access that benefit. We have it in place now in terms of the regulatory authorities to do this. We are exploring options that may require legislation. We'll have more details in the weeks to come. But the lack of complication is one of the strong points of this conceptual framework that I'm speaking about today. We're not going to we're not going to do anything super fancy that means we can't deliver to Canadians. We're going to move as many people by relaxing the entry requirements into EI onto EI, so they have immediate access to all the benefits and support the EI system offers. But there will be people, despite that, who can't get in. So we're going to create a parallel benefit, very much like the CERB, but with more EI-like components, which will allow people to have the same experiences even though they're not within the system.
Okay, thank you. And my second question is for Minister Bibeau. Minister Bibeau, there has been reports over the last couple of days about mysterious seed packages that have been received by Canadians, Americans. I think the Australians have also gotten packages now. The Ontario Police said that it was from China and Taiwan. Can you confirm that the Canadian seeds received have been from China and Taiwan? And also, are you concerned about the possibility of invasive species arriving in Canada because of these seeds?
We're not at the point that we can confirm anything yet. Of course, we are concerned, so that's why I would encourage everybody who has received this type of seeds, the unknown seeds, to return it to the Canadian Inspection, CFI, Canadian Food Inspection Agency. And please do not open it and do not plant it.
Okay, thank you very much. Merci beaucoup tout le monde. That would conclude our press conference today. Unless, there's other questions on the floor. I do apologize. Come forward. We have one. Ashley Burke from CBC, please.
Hi, Dr. Tam. Given that this app is voluntary and so far it's been rolled out in one province, I understand there might be more to come. How many Canadians, what percentage do you need for them to sign up for this to be successful? And how much are you counting on this working?
I think the app is being launched in Ontario at the moment, but other provinces, I think, are expected to join this effort. So, I mean, I think we need to have an ongoing way of evaluating its effectiveness. I don't know that I can tell you precisely, but obviously the more people who sign up to use or download the app, the more useful it would be. I think in discussions with other medical officers of health, some of the sort of really useful applications, particularly as we're heading into the long weekend. So if you walked into a let's just say a nightclub or a certain setting where you don't actually know who is around you necessarily, they're not part of your social bubble. Under those kind of settings, it's actually quite useful to be able to have an app where you can download this specific key if you got a lab positive, and that sort of sends a signal to the people who had been within that 2-meter distance for more than 15 minutes. Those are some of the parameters. I think from a public health perspective, there'll be more work to do to see if any of these parameters need to be adjusted in any way, etc. So I think some of it, we will have more learnings as we go along. But sort of that's the idea, is that it is one additional tool. It is a proximity notification tool. It is not a contact tracing app. So it doesn't collect any information, name or contact information, so there's no way that public health authorities can actually trace those contacts. People who receive the notification, though, are then alerted to, well, am I experiencing any illness? Should I be doing something different? Do I need to contact public health? Do I need to get tested? So I think that's the idea. Contact tracing will still need to be done right now by local public health departments using the expertise that they have, and we need to sort of support that aspect as well. But it's one tool. But when we were reopening social spaces and the economy, adding another tool is thought to at least help us be able to sort of be alerted to people who may have been exposed faster. So it's just an additional tool, and the more people who use it, the more effective it would be.
And my other question is, shipments of the COVID-19 vaccine that Canada is developing with China has been reportedly delayed by Chinese customs officials for weeks, which has delayed the start of the clinical trials in Canada. What is the government doing about this, and is it putting Canada behind on developing a vaccine?
I will have to check in on the latest update on where the vaccine is at, but I do know that it had been delayed. So I'm not going to sort of give you an answer if I don't know that. We'll check back in with you. But we do have other, Medicago is another company that has a clinical trial that started in Canada. So that is the sort of second approved clinical trial. As I've said, I think the government is really exploring every avenue, both domestic and international, in terms of access to the vaccine. None of the vaccines have completed the clinical trials. So we still have to sort of keep going in all these different efforts of trying to look at what are the best candidates and as much as possible work with not just individually pursuing the individual companies, but work with international constructs, with the WHO, with other international collaborations where we can access a variety of different technologies at the same time, depending on which ones come up. So I think, yes, if the vaccine is still delayed, that is, disappointing and is a delay that we would rather not see, but we do have other endeavors ongoing right now.
Hi, Mackenzie Gray with CTV News. My first question is for Minister Qualtrough. Minister, can you explain why, for people who are not on EI with the changes to the CERB program, you don't just continue using CERB and maybe modify the specifications of the program on that? And also, for people who are going to be moved off of CERB and onto EI, will the rules currently, how they stand, you have X number of weeks before your EI runs out, will that be in place? So could people potentially end up losing their benefits if they are unemployed for a substantial period of time once they move on to EI?
Very important questions and details that we'll be sharing in the weeks to come. Broadly speaking, the reason we want to move away from CERB also is to create the message and the expectation that we're moving into a different phase. So we're no longer in our emergency phase. We're in the recovery phase, and we're in an economic restart phase. So we want to create supports that contribute to people returning to work and to the workplace. So training opportunities, labor force attachment, So, yes, it will look and feel probably like CERB, but it won't be CERB, and it'll have more, less disincentive to work. And when we created the CERB, when we were asking Canadians to stay home and not work, and now we're encouraging Canadians to go back to work when it's safe to do so, and we want to help you do that. That was the underlying guiding principle. In terms of people who may not, and I think your question was, may not have enough hours to get into EI, or because they haven't worked for extended won't qualify for EI. Those are exactly the kinds of flexibilities we're looking at introducing, so that the entry requirements won't be as significant, that will get people in with lower thresholds, for example. I'm not going to give any more details now, but I can assure you that we're very aware that there are a number of workers who don't have enough hours to qualify. There are a number of workers who would not meet the existing thresholds if they stayed the same, and we are looking to relax them.
So is that an admission that the CERB program is acting at this point in time as a disincentive for people to work? If we're moving away from a program where you can just essentially sign up if you've said you're unemployed, get the attestation, check the box, I get my money, now moving to a system where we're going to be checking, presumably, that people are actually looking for work, going out and working. Is that kind of the message that you're trying to send right now on this?
I think it's more that we believe that the CERB has served its purpose, and the reason it was created is no longer the main focus of our efforts as a government to support workers, and we're transitioning to another type of support as we transition back to a full, thriving economy. It's basically that the CERB has served its purpose, and we are going to move on to something different.
Great, thank you. Now that actually concludes the press conference today. Ça va conclure notre conférence de presse aujourd'hui. Merci tout le monde pour avoir nous joindre. Thank you everybody for having joined us. Have a good weekend.